Nick M., do you have any thoughts on the Quiet Place spin-off prequel film? Would you have preferred a third film with the original cast, or do you think that this is something different? I mean, I'm almost positive we are getting a third film. That's happening. I think they're getting themselves into a little bit of trouble with that because the second movie takes place right after the first movie, and it involves children. Children age much quicker than women in their late 30s. So if you start out with a 13-year-old when you do your first movie, and then the third movie takes place a month after the first movie, and you filmed it 6 years later, that 20-year-old does not look like the young teenager they were in the first movie. I'm pretty sure we're getting the third film, though. That they've only said this. These movies just crank in the money. They're dirt cheap to make, and they're profitable opening weekend. Do you have any thoughts on the spin-off prequel film? I think it's a franchise that lends itself really well to a prequel because the nature of the story is, we start off the first movie and we're already in the world where these creatures have taken over. And even the prequel at the beginning of the first film, that little prologue, that's like a month in or something like that sets the stage for the stakes for this family and the emotional journey for the family. And then the second movie gives us what it looked like for the family when they made a run for it. But there's easily a story to tell there. There's easily other interesting stories of where did these things come from? How did it go down? How did people survive and create different colonies and things like that? I think they created an interesting post-apocalyptic situation that's different from zombies and has, with the sound element, it's very distinct. And you can just play out what's all the different ways you would survive if you had to be silent. Where would you go? What was that first window of time like? You could make a war movie out of that. Like what was going on with the military? What was going on with people over here? You can play all of that out. You can make it a chase movie of like a group of people that are on the run to get to a thing while kind of being chased by these creatures or what. Like you could do so many different things. So I think the idea of a Quiet Place spinoff that's a prequel, that's like kind of almost like a no-brainer because the movies, they're not terribly expensive and they're very profitable. And you just watch the first movie and you immediately go, oh, I wonder what was like. What about people here? What about... You just have all of those, and those are all stories you could tell. They're all worth telling that don't just feel like you're milking it, that you actually want to see those things play out. So I'm all for it. And then, of course, Eddie Munson is in it from Stranger Things. So standout, breakout star of Stranger Things 4. Immediately everyone, people love this guy. Let's get him in more stuff. And like I was at Fan Expo New Orleans a month ago, and he was there. Girls were freaking out all weekend. Like after the Saturday night, after we'd done our panel and we're walking back, and there's like a girl like shaking. Like we're just walking down the street back to our hotel. There's a girl shaking, like, and her mom's like, she met Eddie Munson. And like, she doesn't want to wash her hand. Like the joke that, oh, he touched me, I don't want to wash my hand ever. Like that in movies and stuff. She was saying that about her daughter. Her daughter, she didn't want to. She's still crying. She met him 45 minutes ago. People love this guy, and producer people like, let's do the obvious smart thing. People love that guy. Let's put him over here in our franchise, and you can get him still dirt cheap. You give him a huge range from what he got in Stranger Things 4, and he's still, compared to $20 million person, he's dirt cheap, but he's a recognizable face that you got a passionate fan base that will show up. And you don't need a big established star. The franchise is the star. So I'm all for it. I think it's a solid idea. And would you have preferred a third film with the original cast, or do you? I want both because where they've set things up with the second film, where the second film ends, you kind of like close out a trilogy of how do we end the apocalypse. So I think you close out the trilogy, which ends the apocalypse in a real satisfying way. But they kind of like did things to a point of like, oh, it looks like they figured something out. Okay, Now, what does the end of the apocalypse look like? So you do the third film, and you could do a time jump there, and that could be the way that they do a jump forward 3 years and the final assault of the creatures or whatever. But I think you do both. I want both. I think there's room for both. I'm interested in both. Most of these clips are pulled from my weekly Patreon live stream. Join at any level and you can join the chat and ask all the questions you want. That's for as little as $2 per month. For $5 per month, you can get your name on my end card. For $25 per month, you can have a monthly video chat with me. Link is in the description for more details, and keep talking movies and TV too much.